Om Shanti, and welcome to this special conversation using the power of good wishes and pure feelings. To discuss this topic further, we have with us Brother Ken from Brazil. He is an Australian who's been living in Brazil for many years. He has also worked with many different big organizations throughout the world as a business consultant. He has also written 15 books in various different languages. He has also been a musician and a Raj Yogi for the last 43 years. Presently, he is coordinating the Brahma Kumaris centers in South America. Om Shanti, very happy to have you here.
Om Shanti, welcome. I feel very welcomed by you in this program, so thanks.
Yeah, we do the same. We want to know about the power of good wishes and pure feelings and how do we use it. But before that, what are good wishes? What are pure feelings? Can you really define them for us?
I think most of us live as takers rather than givers. We're looking for something. We're trying to get something out of life. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get something out of an arrangement or a job. We're trying to get something out of a relationship. So we're looking to take or to receive. And of course, that leaves us like spiritual vacuum cleaner. So we're taking and taking and taking, but when you take, you don't necessarily get what you want or what you need. Mm-hmm. And to live the other way around, to basically be a giver, and to, from inside out, develop a sort of a state in which you're positively influencing the things around you instead of taking things in, whatever's around. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference. So good wishes and pure feelings start with a nature of giving.
Mm-hmm. You said the nature of giving, but we are in the world where everyone wants to take, and it's very easy to wish bad for someone who's doing bad for me, or to be influenced by the environment, which is of course not very positive. Why is it important to have good wishes or pure feelings? Is it important?
Well, you see, at a certain level, if we understand the nature of souls, spiritual beings that we are, living these human lives, there are distances between our bodies, right? There's this reality that is actually physical, and distances and times and so on and so forth. But there is a dimension at a spiritual level where there are no distances. And that's why when you make a telephone call to someone, even on the other side of the world, the person will say, wait a minute, I was just thinking about you now. How come you've called? Because the connection between the two souls happens before the telephone connection is made. Because I think, and when I think of someone, actually I touch that person with my thought. And this is a very subtle, let's say, law that probably no one knows about. So let's say, if you are basically having good behavior and you have a good interaction with everyone that you meet, what will those people think about you?
I'm a very good person.
So if you've got 100 people thinking about you, he's a very good person, she's a very good person, he's a very good person, like that, from all sides, do you think that that will help you or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does. On the other side too, if I have such a behavior, I'm always grouchy, I'm always aggressive, I'm always sort of, having I'm the superior one, I'm the best one, arrogance or aggressiveness, and I interact with 100 people, all of those people are thinking, he's aggressive, he's not so good, he's a bad person. That will also affect me. So 100 people thinking, he's bad, he's bad, he's bad, he's bad, that will definitely reinforce that sort of behavior. So all of this subtle stuff is happening behind the scenes that we're never really aware about. And that's why when you when somebody has a giving mode and is conscious of the giving mode, you feel better in their presence. And if you, in the presence of someone who's just a take, he's trying to work out what he's going to get from you, how he's going to, you know, how if he can lie to you and get away with something, then you will feel that vibration. But generally, the vibrations are so, you know, so mixed in the world, and we're not very good at recognizing them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people get away with a lot of things. But if you could see vibrations, right, and let's say someone's really in a bad mood, it's like a black vibration, then you stay clear from him, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make the vibration any less. So we feel things, and there are people who are more sensitive than others to this. Mm-hmm. And it's really a subtle thing, the way we influence people by our basically positive vibration or negative.
Mm-hmm. You've really given a very good example of that. At the level of the vibrations, the souls are really connected, and our thoughts, whatever I'm thinking, it's actually touching the other soul. So if I'm thinking bad, it's the bad thing which is touching the other soul, and probably I get the return of it as well. So I understand, now this is making it very clear that there should be pure good wishes, because it's not only good for the other person, but it's also good for me.
Yeah, what you give out comes back to you.
Yes, and if I'm thinking good, I'm feeling good also at that time. However, sometimes it becomes very difficult to think good about a person who's done something really bad to me, who's really hurt me. At a spiritual level, I can understand and justify that maybe it was my doing, my karma. But then at the end of the day, at the present moment, this person has hurt me.
Yeah.
Now, what should I do?
Well, I think a lot of the viewers must be, probably they've got someone difficult around them. Maybe. So what happens if you have a difficult person, you know, maybe with a difficult nature or a superior nature or an aggressive nature? I think a lot of people have to live with relatives that are like that, you know, or bosses that are like that. Now, it does not help you, and this is a thing that we have to realize, even before we start to try to change it. We realize that if I keep on thinking about that person's defects, you know, every time that he does something, every time I remember that person, defect, 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 and in my mind I'm making lists of defects and trying to work my way around them, what I'm doing is I'm just stimulating that sort of thing in myself. Mm-hmm. So if I notice that sort of nasty behavior, why do I know? What does it affect me? It's because I can't understand how come that person is different from me. Mm-hmm. And which is pretty egocentric, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Why are you different from me? Why aren't you like I want you to be? So it's not productive just to think badly about people at a distance. What it does is just makes you feel bad. And not only that, worse, it does not help. It does not help the person you want to change. The worst thing you can do if you want to change somebody is to keep thinking about their bad behavior. That's the worst thing. What you'll do, every thought that you have about how bad the person is will actually reinforce that in the person. So in fact, it becomes more and more difficult for the person to change just by your thinking badly about them. Mm-hmm. So you have to start to understand this subtle mathematics. That if, okay, he's like that, but does he have any virtues? Which virtues does he have? Let's say you've been married to the person for 20 years and the relationship has got to that state. And there are many such relationships, right? Mm-hmm. It's difficult to change. They're married, they have children, and so it's very difficult for one to go to one side and one to go to the other side. So they're sort of stuck together and thinking badly about each other. She's like this, she's like this, she's like this. He's like this, he's like this, he's like this. And when they, mentally, they're just messing each other up. by thinking that. So just try to think of their virtues, because everyone has at least one, right? Probably more than one, but at least one. Just try to think about that. If you think about the person, this good wishes and pure feelings is actually, you're seeing that person without that bad behavior. You're seeing their essence. You're seeing a shining star, a diamond, rather than a piece of rock. And so that mental thought, that image of the person okay and well, will actually help them much more to change than you harping on their defects.
So you've given us a formula to think well think well for a difficult person, to actually look at the virtues, to look at the diamond instead of the rock. Another thing which happens and which many people complain is that I don't want to think bad, you see, but sometimes they're under so much of stress, under work pressure, or maybe a different mood, that at that moment they are not able to have the best thoughts for everybody, or to have the best thought for a particular person. So what should I do under such circumstance where I really don't want to think bad about you, but I'm not in a position to think well either?
The thing is, it's all ego-based. I mean, if I think badly, who's thinking badly? It's the ego. The ego's been ruffled. The ego's been upset by something. The ego, you are not like I want you to be. And what I do is, first of all, I understand that I am the soul, and the ego is just like the rough surface. I'm not going to deny my connection with the world, that I was born in such a place and I have this job and this is my family. I'm not going to ignore all of that. So it's not a question of annihilating your ego. Actually, you have to be more friendly with it. So if you're going to be represented in the world, and ego is actually the connection between your inner self and the outer world. So it should be a good representative rather than a bad one. But I have to step back from the ego. I am the soul. And what I do is I think of God. I think of my connection with the Supreme. And when I do that, I invoke the presence of the Divine. And I just ask, how do you feel about this one? And of course, God is the ocean of love and the ocean of peace and the ocean of happiness and so on. He will not think badly about anyone. So if He's the one who knows us very deeply, and He doesn't think bad about the person, why should I? So that's what I do, I'm the soul, that other person is a soul. I am not this ego, and that other person is not his or her ego. I try to see behind the covering, and my vision penetrates that sort of, the ugliness, let's say. But I also invoke God's presence, and I ask, okay, how do you feel about this one? And of course, He will just feel, no, he's my loving child, he's my special jewel, he will only see good. So even giving good wishes, if it's the ego giving the good wishes, it won't work either. Let's say you see somebody suffering and you say, poor thing, I think I'll give them good wishes. No, that's very limited. But if you can step back and connect up with God, and through that pass that good energy to the person, it's much more healing than just me, ego, being, feeling pity for somebody and sending them good wishes.
You've told us that we have to step back and also make a good representation of the inner self and the outer world, which is the ego, and which sort of answers our question when we are connecting with God, and as if looking at things as God sees. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Try to.
Of course. And it sort of answers one of the things that people have, that I can be thinking good about some people, some of the time, but not all the time and for all the people. That's
Yeah.
really difficult.
I mean, but that is the aim, isn't it? But if you want to improve and get better, that's the ultimate stage that you could get to, that you're basically in a good stage all the time. But I mean, that's close to perfection, right? And we have to work on it. But I have to have an idea of the highest point that I want to get to. If I just set a low aim for myself, you know, I'll be happy with this one and good with that other one and a few people, but you know, forget about everyone else. I'll be good for my family and my co-workers. Enough. You can set that sort of aim, but if you really want to have a better and deeper experience, you should be kind and loving towards people, you know, at the market, or you know, people who come to repair something in your house, or neighbours, or distant relatives you hardly ever see, and people that you don't even, you know, you're sitting together in the bus or the train or whatever. If you just have a basically good feeling towards other people, you'll have a fantastic day. So that's the high aim. Now, just to have a few good feelings with a few people, that's also good, but not as good as being basically positive towards everyone.
Mm-hmm. You know, you talked about the healing effect. So the pure wishes and pure feelings have a healing effect on the relationships that I have. So does that mean that if I have a difficult relationship, or there is something which has gone wrong, with the power of pure feelings, good wishes, can I mend that relationship?
Yeah, especially, for sure. I mean, I remember a woman who came here to Om Shanti Retreat Center. She was from Spain, and she said that her daughter had broken any connection with her through the influence of her ex-husband, who was the father of this girl. Mm-hmm. So the ex-husband put his two daughters against the mother totally, to the extent that, and this one was a lawyer, so the extent that they actually worked a way to not part. When the husband, the ex-husband died, none of the money went to her. It went all to the daughter. So they just completely broken relationship. So what I said to her, she said, "How can I help?" I said, "You don't feel too good about your daughter, right?" She said, "No, but it's mainly a loss for me because I can't understand why she hates me. I can't understand why she hates me." So just look at that. She's not thinking about the feelings of the daughter, right? She's thinking about her own feelings.
That
and
she's the receiver
bad.
of the hate.
Yeah,
yes.
She's feeling bad because the daughter hates me. She doesn't understand the daughter's hate, or you know, why the daughter has become like that. Probably there are some reasons, right? But I told her, you know, is it any use to talk to her? And she said, "No, I've tried many times, doesn't work." And so I said to her, every time that daughter comes to your mind, just remember that you are a soul and that she is also a soul. That's the essential relationship, not mother-daughter. And if there's any cure to be affected, it has to be on the deep spiritual level. Mm-hmm. So don't even see that person as your daughter, the one that hates you, but see that soul radiant, like light, just like a radiant soul. And okay, the daughter's face will come in onto the screen of your mind, but try to see the soul behind the face, and just see light. Just see that soul as they really are, without any other thing put on top of it. And that will help you. And you know, sometime later I did see that woman. She said, yes, the relationship has become much better.
That's a very beautiful example. And maybe right now there are many cases where there are relationships going sour and there is no scope of talking. And this method of feeling and having a good connection, a soul-to-soul connection, not even the relation that, I'm a mother or a daughter or a husband and a wife, but really seeing through the physical boundaries can help us to get back to a normal state of affairs.
Or at least it will help to remove the tension. And maybe later on it will actually bring about some sort of reconciliation.
So we've talked so much about the connection of the soul and connection with God and the power of good wishes. I would request you to take us and facilitate us into a meditation to experience that, if you could do that.
Okay, so first of all, just sit very nobly on your seats, and initially just become aware of the room around you. And in the same way you're sitting on your seat, just imagine a sort of a subtle seat behind the eyes, at the level of the middle of the forehead, and sit there consciously. Be there in the center of command of your life. So you're surrounded by all of the things happening around you physically, but you're also at the center of your life. So as I become more and more stable in this consciousness, I remember that in my state of rest I am peaceful. I am a peaceful soul. I am a loveful soul. And then I even start to go even deeper. I remember a dimension of light which maybe I've tried to reach in prayer or in meditation, which is beyond this physical world. And in that dimension there's this very subtle, not bright, but a subtle source like a sun, a subtle sun, which is the one that we call God, or Allah, or Jehovah, or Shiva, so many names from different parts of the tradition, the human traditions, but it's the same one. So I just connect up with that one. And I start to become even more stable. I start to actually feel becoming empowered. So I put my mind very open to catch that subtle power. And so it's like I'm sitting on top of the world, and the whole world is in front of me, and I'm just sending out good rays of good wishes, good feelings, indiscriminately, whoever, wherever, to all of the souls who are my brothers, or to matter even. I'm just sending out a pure spiritual vibration to everyone. So I remember that I'm a soul. I remember that my nature is peace and love. I remember my home, and I remember my connection with that one. And I'll connect up and start to just give out good feelings and good vibrations to everywhere and to everyone. So staying in that state, I can open my eyes a little bit more. Try to keep this consciousness even with your eyes open for a while, and then gradually come back to the normality of the place that you're sitting. Just come back naturally.
Thank you, Brother Ken. I think it was a wonderful experience, and one that allowed us to reach out to the whole world just with the power of good wishes, considering and remembering ourselves as souls, remembering our home and our connection with God. We can serve the whole humanity. And while we were doing that, I could feel a change of vibrations around the room, and I'm sure it reached out to the world. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I think even the people who've been watching, they created a good vibration in their room also.
So if we could do that more often, I think it'll be easier to change the world pretty soon.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your time and hope to see you once again.
Okay.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.